Artificial intelligence continues to evolve at an extraordinary pace. New tools appear promising smarter decisions, faster workflows, and remarkable innovations. The challenge, however, is not simply recognizing these moments. Anyone can read headlines, but knowing how to actually capture value from them. This video explores a contrarian approach to implementing artificial intelligence, one that flips conventional wisdom on its head. Instead of force-fitting AI solutions, we will explore how starting with understanding the technology can unlock opportunities that traditional planning would miss entirely. Many online resources seem to declare that for successful AI implementation, one needs to first define goals, then review available data, and finally choose the right AI technology. This is the classical business-style approach. Define your objectives, evaluate your circumstances, and then choose the right implementation. There is, however, an issue with this approach. It starts with the objectives and then tries to find AI that could be used to meet those objectives. This assumes that AI is the best solution. Such an assumption risks creating force-fitted AI solutions that perform worse than non-AI alternatives. Instead of starting with the objectives, one could start with the tools. Think of different types of AI as different tools. One could ask, what tools are available and what opportunities do they open up? Only after identifying opportunities, one could then review business objectives to determine which opportunities to pursue. So, the order is 1. Understand AI and what it can do. 2. Consider which capabilities are most useful based on how they would affect key business metrics. And 3. Implement, including collecting new data if necessary. The perspective of starting with AI and then looking for an application might sound like a solution in search of a problem, but given how novel AI is and how significant of an impact it can have if implemented correctly, a worthwhile problem might actually be found. Ultimately, if you have some powerful tool, it's more effective to look for ways in which it can help, rather than first identifying a problem and then trying to use that tool to solve it, regardless of whether the given tool is suited for that application. This may seem obvious, but when people don't understand AI's ever-changing limitations, they start to view AI as a tool for everything, when in fact it is a complex tool that very much still has limitations and is expected by most experts to continue to have limitations into the foreseeable future. Furthermore, starting with the tools doesn't just prevent low-performing, force-fitted solutions, it also allows for perspective shifts and radical innovation rather than being stuck in the old way of doing things. Consider the experience of a new kitchen appliance, a blender. After purchasing a blender, someone may begin by imagining exciting meals that were never possible before. Smooth soups, fresh smoothies, and homemade sauces suddenly become easy options. The tool itself opens up new possibilities. If instead the person first listed a set of cooking problems and only then tried to justify using a blender, results may be disappointing. Artificial intelligence often resembles that blender. LLMs represent such a step change in capability that the opportunities they reveal can be genuinely transformative rather than merely incremental. On a more technical level, traditional automation requires structured data, rigid rules, and predictable workflows. If a team only evaluates problems that already have clean data and precise requirements, they might conclude that no AI solution is suitable. However, LLMs excel at tasks that previously felt impossible, such as interpreting messy notes, summarizing long documents, or identifying insights hidden in unstructured conversations. By starting with what LLMs do best and then looking for valuable places to apply those strengths, we can avoid forcing new technology into old processes where it may not belong and instead truly innovate by exploring new opportunities. Whether to use LLMs instead of regular automation or other forms of AI like deep learning or machine learning is outside the scope of this video, but as a quick tip, if you can avoid using an LLM, you generally should. LLMs are comparatively unpredictable and costly when compared to alternative methods. It is only when other solutions fail or become virtually impossible to implement that LLMs become the right tool to use. For example, processing unstructured employee feedback in the form of text, where the structure of responses varies wildly, presents a classical case where rule-based systems would require prohibitive engineering effort, making LLMs the pragmatic choice. Once an LLM is chosen for a specific problem, we move on to step 3, implementing. AI engineering techniques like prompt engineering, context engineering, setting guardrails, and evaluating are outside the scope of this video. Instead, we will do a case study that focuses on user experience and branding, which is where, in my opinion, the biggest mistakes are made. Before we get into the application though, let's just clear up some definitions, specifically looking at the difference between a chatbot, an assistant, and an agent. A chatbot is primarily a conversational interface. An assistant is designed to help users accomplish specific tasks, and an agent is defined by autonomy. Both assistants and agents, and even to some extent chatbots, can focus on goals. There is significant overlap. These are not mutually exclusive definitions. Assistants and agents can, for example, utilize a chat interface to interact with a user. To be an assistant and not just a chatbot, the system must be designed around some specific task. Further, for it to be an agent and not just an assistant, it must include autonomy, which generally means that it performs some task that previously required a human. However, while assistants require a human, agents can still include a human as a supervisor, in which case we would call the agent a supervised agent. Both assistants and particularly agents do not need to have a chat interface. An assistant may, for example, provide tips to a user as they are filling out a form. This could be used to identify potentially incorrect information and to show alerts before the user submits. Similarly, an agent could, for example, compile data in the background to generate downloadable reports or be used to flag suspicious activity for which an alert can be sent to an administrator as a no-reply email. Agents can also be seen as assistants and vice versa, depending on the perspective. For example, a loan application agent could assist a customer in submitting a form and thus be an assistant to the client, but from the perspective of the business, it onboards clients, including running credit background checks and recording data without an employee needing to be involved. So it's an agent from the perspective of the business because it works for the business without needing human involvement, but an assistant from the perspective of the client because as part of a broader range of capabilities, it works with human clients on certain tasks. For our application, we are going to build a knowledge agent. LLMs are useful for quickly reviewing a lot of text and finding relevant information. This is a known strength of LLMs, which we have chosen to try to exploit for our application. Identifying this strength relates to step 1, identify what AI offers. Next, for step 2, we can consider our business objectives. We need to ask ourselves whether a knowledge agent would add business value. Let's say that our organization has many different teams, which causes strategic alignment challenges. For example, the sales team might identify that clients complain that a product is too complex, while at the same time the engineering team might be planning to add more complexity to increase the perceived value proposition. Theoretically, the sales and engineering teams should communicate with each other, but in practice, many important discoveries might be lost to communication issues. If instead each team writes down insights and documents their decision-making process, an agent could read through all this text and highlight strategic alignment issues. The goal given to the agent could be something like review different departments' notes and identify insights from one department that could be relevant for another department. It's actually quite a simple task. It would only be difficult for a human who would get tired from reading through all that text. Finally, for step 3, implementing. Instead of limiting the project to using existing data, we will collect new data. To do this for our application, we will create a new user interface. In terms of user experience, an important aspect of this implementation is that it is designed to not annoy employees. Instead, it is positioned as an additional tool that employees can use, which doesn't interfere with whatever they normally do. Whether introducing a new tool at work, joining a new community, or starting a conversation at a networking event, the principle remains the same. Lead with what you can offer, not with what you need. Annoyance typically stems from feeling imposed upon, from sensing that someone wants to extract value before contributing any. When introducing a new system or reaching out to someone, ask yourself, does this make their life easier, or will it feel like I'm creating more work? Does this enhance what they are already doing, or does it demand that they abandon their approach for mine? The knowledge agent succeeds as a networking tool precisely because it does not demand anything. It sits quietly, accumulates wisdom from willing contributors, and surfaces insights when people choose to look. In many cases, where there is a known workflow, you could replace existing processes with AI. Don't confuse a poor implementation for a weak technology. Well implemented LLMs can replace a lot of work. However, as long as we don't fantasize about AGI, at least currently it is a given that AI does have different strengths and weaknesses. Given this, it's likely that the largest opportunities are from balancing these strengths and weaknesses with human strengths and weaknesses to create new, innovative, combined workflows. Even if we ignore the fact that AI talent and thereby AI implementation is expensive, if combined workflows involving both humans and AI, not replacement workflows, have the highest ROI, then that's where we should be investing. These combined workflows require careful engineering involving traditional automations and adding humans and LLMs strategically, specifically for each problem's workflow. The knowledge agent demonstrates this principle. It does not try to be everything for everyone. It plays to its strengths and does one thing well: surface cross-departmental insights. Additionally, this narrow focus allows for better prompt engineering, more targeted evaluation metrics, and clearer success criteria. This makes the value proposition immediately clear to users, unlike generic chatbots that promise everything but deliver mediocrity. To conclude, the conventional approach, define goals, then choose AI, has its place, but it risks force-fitting AI into roles where it adds little value, while missing opportunities that only become visible when you understand the technology first. By starting with what LLMs offer, then identifying where those capabilities create genuine value, and finally implementing with attention to user experience, you position yourself to discover applications that traditional planning might overlook entirely.